and welcome to Your Coaching Journey, a podcast for doctors about coaching. Whether you're a coaching doctor, a doctor who is learning to coach, or a doctor who'd like to build coaching into your professional life, then this is the podcast for you. Hello, I'm Tom Dillon, and with me today is my co-host and business partner, Helen Leathers. Good morning, Helen. How are you?
Good morning, Tom. I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I kind of feel like we've just got that idea again that we ought to just record this bit because it's kind of a bit same every time now, isn't it? Yeah, well, how are you? Yeah, it's a bit dull, isn't it?
But it's always fun to see if you can say my name.
Yeah. But I do. And maybe that's the jeopardy is gone now. I can just do it now.
Well, you didn't last
There's
time.
no excitement.
Last time you had to do it twice.
Did I?
Yeah.
No.
Yes, you
You're
did.
making it up.
I'll ask Pete.
Ignore Helen. She's making things up now. Okay. Good.
Anyway.
Let's do a podcast.
Let's do a podcast. What are we talking about today, Tom?
Today we are talking about some coaching tools that we have visited on previous podcasts.
Like a roundup.
A roundup.
We've done one of these before, haven't we?
We have done one. We are doing them about different tools. This one is about different tools.
Yes.
So, yes, we're just going to go through some of the old models just to remind you that they exist. So this come about because someone mentioned that they'd listened to that episode in the bath.
Oh, that was nice of you to share.
I'm not sure why I needed to know that, but anyway. Yes, and found it very useful to reflect on the models that we have revisited.
Excellent. So wherever you are listening to our podcast today, whether it's in the bath or somewhere else, it's a roundup of tools and models we've discussed before.
Yeah. So let's start with the Thomas and Kilmann conflict styles, which was a model that we introduced in episode 22.
That's a long time ago.
It is, isn't it?
We're on 152 today.
130 episodes ago.
Yes.
What have we found to say in the meantime?
I have no idea. But people are still listening.
Yeah, that's true. I think I saw on the stats a little while ago that I think the Gestalt episode, it got like over 700 listeners or something.
Because the Wheel of Life for a long time was our most listened to episode, and now Gestalt has overtaken it.
I don't know what. Someone did say to me, someone sent me an email saying, I've listened to your episode about Gestalt, and it is the most useful explanation of Gestalt I've ever heard.
Or maybe they're sharing it with people.
Maybe. It's going viral.
Maybe it's just because it's quite a tricky topic and everyone's listening to it over and over again trying to get their head around it.
Now. Let's say it's a brilliant episode and people are sharing it.
Yes. And listening to it again.
Thank you.
Yes.
My explanation is wonderful.
So, you digress from conflict styles.
I didn't digress.
Sorry.
Thomas and Kilmann, Conflict Styles,
Yes.
episode 22, if you want to go back and have a listen. But basically, this is a way that Thomas and Kilmann looked at how people approach conflict and negotiation as well. I think it's really useful to think of it, almost to take the conflict out of it and think of things as a negotiation. So it's how we approach interactions with others when it's perhaps something difficult to talk about. And we might want to have our way and they might want something else. So we're coming at it from different places, but how we go about entering into that conversation. So it's sort of a matrix of, on one axis we have cooperation, and on the other one we have assertiveness. So if we have someone that is very low in assertiveness and also very low in cooperation, they would be avoidant. So that sits in the bottom left-hand corner. So avoiding is a conflict style.
Yeah. And a negotiation style, maybe.
Yeah. And it might be that, someone wants you to do something, you just ignore their email until the deadline's passed. That's possible, isn't it?
It is.
You could just avoid it. Oh, I didn't see your email. So that's possible, but it's not very cooperative and not very assertive.
No.
And I think people tend to think of that as being the weakest place to be, being avoidant. Sounds quite weak, doesn't it? But actually, if we shift along a bit towards the right, on the bottom axis to the right-hand side, is accommodation.
Okay.
So accommodation is where you give in, basically. You say, no, you can have that. So if someone comes in and says, I need tomorrow morning off, no notice, just I'm going to take tomorrow morning off. You go, okay, that's fine. So there's no assertiveness there, is there? There's no discussion really. It's just you just give in and go, okay, have what you like. So that's a really weak place to be, because we're being very cooperative, but we're not being assertive.
Yeah, and there's been times where I've perhaps ignored something and it's resolved itself. So actually, I wasn't needed in that.
No. So it wasn't really a weak position to be in.
No.
You got your way by not being involved.
Yeah.
Whereas if you'd had the conversation, you might have gone, oh, okay, then I'll do that.
Yeah.
So saying yes to things, if we didn't have the conversation in the first place, if we'd avoided it, we might have got away with it.
Yeah.
So accommodation is actually the weakest place to be, because we've had the conversation and we've given in and gone, oh, okay, yes.
Yeah.
So that's bottom right-hand corner. If we go to the top left-hand corner, we have competing as a conflict style, where it's my way or the highway. I'm not doing it, or I am doing it, but you're going to get your way, and not allowing for the other person to have any say in what's going on. You just decide, and that's it. So that's competing, and it's kind of a win-lose. I win, you lose. Tough.
Yeah.
Whereas the accommodating is I lose, you win, because you've given up ground. The avoidant could be win-win, it could be lose-lose.
Yeah.
Well, we don't know. So in the middle we have compromise, where we're going to give some ground, we're going to hopefully get some of what we want, we're going to give them some of what they want, but there's a conversation and we meet somewhere in the middle. Which sounds like a great place, but actually you might both be giving up something that's really important. So that could end up as a lose-lose.
Yeah.
It could end up as win-win if you're happy with what when you're negotiating over the price of something. Yeah,
but it's kind of lose.
Well, I bought a car recently, and I kind of said, "Well, so tell me about the price. Then what can we need to negotiate?" And we did, and I got a tiny bit off the car. He gave something more than the previous garage had said. They said, "Oh, we'll give you £100 just as a goodwill gesture." That's rubbish, and I walked away. So there was no deal. So that's kind of the compromise wasn't sufficient for the deal to go ahead. So that was kind of like a lose-lose. I didn't buy a car; they didn't sell a car.
Yeah.
So this guy came back. He went off to speak to his manager for 5 minutes, as they do. I'm sure he just went for a walk around the building, came back again.
Yeah.
But anyway, came back and said, "Yeah, we can't do what you want, but we can do this." And I went, "Yeah, okay." So there was a negotiation. We compromised. I went away happy. He was happy he'd sold a car. So it can be win-win, but it could end up if you give away too much.
Yeah.
Or you both leave unhappy with the outcome and going, really should have done. It could be losers. But that's a place where we're having a conversation anyway.
Yeah.
And then the top right-hand corner is collaboration. So this is where we're sitting down together to decide on what the best outcome would be for the greater good, and we're working together to solve the problem. And that's probably the best place to be. So it's both cooperative and assertive. We're having our say, we're having our input, and hopefully if we can collaborate, everyone will leave feeling that they have had the chance to air their views and find the best way forward. So that's the Thomas and Kilman conflict styles model. Obviously, if you want to know more, you can go back and listen to episode 22. But that's all I have to say.
Yeah.
What do you have?
I like it. I think it's really interesting to explore and to think about consciously rather than just go to your default style.
I think that's where it is really useful when people recognise patterns, when they always give in and they always... People that always say yes and end up doing all the work because they always say yes.
So I think that can be useful just to bring that into the conversation in the coaching space.
Yeah, good.
Excellent, thank you. What do we have next?
Next we have Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which we talked about in episode 59. Episode 59,
so not quite so long ago.
Not quite so long ago.
And we talked about this at the time as being something useful to have in your mind, but it may not always be something that you bring into the coaching space.
I have never brought it into the coaching space.
I think I've probably discussed it once or twice with people who already have an awareness of it. Maybe they've brought it up. But I think it's just useful to have a knowledge of as a coach and for our own personal interest as well, our own development. So let's just go through what's on the hierarchy.
So Abraham Maslow, 1947 when he devised the hierarchy. It's normally presented as a pyramid, although he never had a pyramid, but that's how it gets presented. And at the bottom of the pyramid, the lowest level we have is physical needs. So this is food, water, that kind of, in order to survive, we have to have those things.
Yes.
Above that, we have security needs. So that feeling safe, protected, being surrounded by other people, generally, we're feeling safe and secure. So our physical needs are met, our security needs are met, and then we have our social needs. So this is how well we get along with the people around us, whether we feel a sense of love and belonging. Beyond that, we have our self-esteem needs. So this is how we feel about our own ability to act in our own agency, have some autonomy, have some self-efficacy, being able to take actions in order to move ourselves forward.
Yeah, feeling that we can progress.
So that's kind of direction of travel for us, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then above that, we have the self-actualization needs, which are... it's more to do with that bigger purpose. Yeah. How do we serve the world rather than how are we at our best?
Yeah. So there's a sense of self-fulfillment, but it's also a sense of going beyond.
Yeah, beyond ourselves.
And I think just to mix our models, that's probably where flow comes in as well, the psychological concept of flow, that we're perhaps able to spend time engaged with things that bring us meaning and bring us...
Yeah, and it's a very humanistic concept, isn't it? So Carl Rogers talks about that sort of inherent need that we have to move ourselves forward, and that everyone has that within them. I'm not sure that's true, but the concept is that everyone has that desire to move forward and to be better and to have that sense of continuous self-improvement. Yeah,
and I think at first glance at this, the idea is we can't move up the hierarchy without fulfilling the first, the second, so on. But I think that that's very simplified, and that there will be, if you've got a percentage of the physiological needs satisfied, you can move up. Yeah. There's also arguments. I mean, as you say, it wasn't a pyramid that Maslow put together. There's also an argument about what comes first, and I know you often speak about how that sense of belonging and...
Yeah, Matthew Lieberman, who's a social neuroscientist, would suggest that our social needs come first because we can't survive our childhood without other people. Yeah. We're totally dependent on other people to have those physical needs met. Yeah. So that you can't separate the two.
But it's an interesting model if someone's not aware of it, or if they think they're aware of it, but they're not sure of the detail. It's an interesting model to look at and explore further.
Yeah, and then we talk in organisational terms about psychological safety and how people struggle if they don't have psychological safety within their environment. So that sort of security need is definitely there. It's difficult for people to be at their best if they're constantly having, fight or flight response activated. Because they don't feel psychologically safe. So there's some good stuff in there. I don't want to kind of dismiss it as a model. We talked about it because we thought it was a useful model to have in our heads. It's probably not something that I would introduce to a coachee.
No. It strikes me, and I don't think I mentioned this before, I don't think it's ever really struck me before, that, a lot of the work I do with people who want to make a difference in the world, want to go out and self-actualise, we often start at the beginning with how resourced are they themselves, and if they're exhausted because they've got a full-time job and children and this, that and the other, how can they expect to self-actualise when they're exhausted and running on less than empty? So that is actually a Maslow's hierarchy of needs scenario. How do we get our cup full first, or at least halfway full, or maybe even a quarter, before we can think about those other attainments that we want?
So I think it was a good idea. I think the concept is fine. So that meeting your physical needs, but then that security need and that psychological safety as well as physical safety. And then how well do you relate to the people around you and to the people that you're engaging with in whatever the endeavour is? So all of those things have to build up, don't they? And then for you to feel like you have the inner resources to achieve what you want to achieve.
Yes.
I'm always conscious of the fact that Maslow didn't really believe that everyone was capable of self-actualization. He was very elitist about it. He thought, so there's a few people at the top, probably himself included, that could do it, which I don't think is right. And that's certainly not the wider humanistic view of it.
No, maybe it's about desire rather than ability, because there are people who don't want to move on. They're not interested in personal development. They wouldn't be interested in having coaching.
Well, and the model is a model of motivation. It's what is motivating us.
Yes. Yeah.
And if we don't have that desire to improve ourselves later on, then once we get to the top of the pyramid, what do? Do we just sit there? So yeah,
interesting.
But again, episode, what did I say? 59 was it? Let's just check. Episode 59. Yeah. So if you want to know more about that, that is the place to look or listen.
Okay. So we're going to talk about the 6 thinking hats next.
We are. Edward de Bono's 6 thinking hats. So this was an idea that it came about. He's kind of the guy that's most often connected to lateral thinking. But it was an idea of how to take different perspectives, quite often within teams, but you can do it as an individual, of perhaps having a viewpoint about something, but then putting on different hats, wearing a different hat to look at things from a different perspective. So within the model, the white hat is the hat that you would wear when you're thinking about facts, data, information. It's all the analytical stuff that you're going to be exploring to come to a decision. So that's one way of looking at things. The red hat involves the emotions, intuitions, feelings, that how you feel it in your gut, what emotions you have about it, and just being able to explore that and voice those emotions, bring that out to play, because it will feed into it. Like most marketing organisations recognise that people make decisions based on emotion rather than facts. So that's an important thing to draw out as well. The black hat is the critical thinking. So this is doing a bit of critical analysis of the situation, looking at what the potential pitfalls are, looking at obstacles, looking at what won't work. So being able to put the black hat on. And I think within teams, quite often people don't like to put the black hat on because they might be seen as negative. I've certainly come across people that wear the black hat all the time. And just well, that's not going to work because of this. And they tend to get criticised for being negative, but quite often they are just being realistic and going, I don't know, I don't think that's going to work for this reason. And I think, again, within teams, it's useful for everyone to wear the black hat.
Yeah, because
at times,
everyone will see the negatives from different perspectives.
Yeah. And people tend to brainstorm around new ideas and be creative and go, let's brainstorm. They don't brainstorm around the negative stuff. They go, let's look at everything that could possibly be wrong with this idea. But anyway, so that's definitely a useful hat to wear. And then the yellow hat is the kind of opposite of the black hat. So this is the optimistic approach. This is, okay, what if it was as successful as it could possibly be? What are the positives? What are the benefits? What's the value to us? So that's definitely a place we want to go to because we want to understand the upside. And the last hat is the green hat. So this is the creative, coming up with new ideas, new ways of doing things, exploring possibilities. So definitely a brainstorming element. So that's 5 of the hats. The 6th hat is the blue hat, which is the one that kind of coordinates all of the information. That's kind of like if you were doing it as a team, it would be the facilitator of kind of maybe just, okay, so let's collect those ideas, and so managing the conversation. So as a coach, you might well be wearing the blue hat to allow those other hats to be worn by the coachee.
Yeah, I like this model, and I think it's a really useful one to open up the situation, but also open up options and open up the exploration of what direction you're going to take. Yeah.
And it's definitely a concept that people will relate to if you people like the idea of putting a hat on. So it's obviously a metaphor, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I think it is something that you can introduce to individual coaches and also into teams, just to allow them to explore whatever it is that's being talked about by taking different perspectives. Just bring it all out in the open. Let's see what's going on. So again, if you would like to know more about the 6 thinking hats, this was episode 90 of the podcast. So do go back and have a listen.
Fabulous. Can we talk a little bit about PERMAH?
Yes.
because I like this as a model. As you know, I quite like positive psychology. And it's one of our older ones again. So the PERMAH wheel we covered in episode 27. And it sits within the positive psychology concept of coaching as well. And I just really like this as a model because it's very positive, but it incorporates so many different elements that positive psychologists have found add to someone's idea of flourishing and getting on with the world and feeling fulfilled. So I thought it would be just nice to talk a little bit about PERMAH.
Let's do that then.
So PERMAH is PERMA, and then we're going to put an H on the end. Initially it was just PERMAH without an H, and then that's been added subsequently. But they all stand for something within positive psychology that helps to add, as I say, to the idea of flourishing. So the P stands for positive emotions, and links particularly into Barbara Fredrickson's theory, Broaden and Build theory, about consciously and actively engaging with positive emotions to help us feel better and help us feel that we learn, we build resources, inner resources, we build experiences around those. And the more positive emotions we have that we can draw on, especially in difficult times, the more resourced we are to deal with the harder times and to be more resilient. So that's about how much positive emotion we experience and how we can engage with it more.
Yeah, and I think to some extent, this is where people have a little bit of a issue with positive psychology that, you just want everyone to be happy and smiley and just... So I think, but that said, I think there is a point to this, that if you do things that give you a sense of well-being, then why would you not do them?
Absolutely, yeah. And we're not talking about being happy, clappy and...
Well, some
jumping.
of it is.
Well, some of it could be. But positive emotions could be contentment, could be curiosity. We know that you and I both love to learn, and we know that a lot of our coaching doctors are the same. Well, that brings great joy. That's a positive emotion. It's curiosity to explore the world and find new things to find out about. So it's not all about jumping around, pretending to be happy. It's about how can we engage positively with our emotions. Yeah. So that's the P of PERMAH. And then we have the E, which is engagement, which is where that psychological concept of flow comes in. Perhaps using our strengths, perhaps using something that brings us joy, brings us positive emotion. So there's some crossover. Might be creativity, bringing that into our lives more frequently so we experience that engagement with an activity, with something we love to do.
Yeah, I think this extends into the workplace, that it might be that it's not something you love to do, but that you are engaged with.
Yeah.
So you might not be in flow, but I think the initial, are you engaged with it? Are you actually focused on it? Can you keep your focus on it?
Yeah.
So that's probably enough for most people to get going with. Hopefully they will experience some flow along the way, but at least we're engaged.
Yeah, absolutely. So what activities have you already got? What have you done in the past? What perhaps could you take up again that will bring you that sense of engagement? Yeah. We then have the R for relationships, and this is really important. We know that people's connections with other people, the networks they have, the social support they have, can add to their well-being and their sense of place in the world. So that's about exploring what there is, what perhaps there was. Perhaps we might want to talk through how they can reconnect with people from the past, and perhaps, if someone's moved to a new area, just relocated their job, how are they going to build those relationships in that new space to give that sense of well-being and connectedness?
Yeah, I think, and the flip side is also true. It's also about removing relationships that aren't working.
Yeah, absolutely.
And causing you problems.
And maintaining the ones that you've already got.
Yeah.
So again, in that scenario of moving location, how are you going to maintain the relationships that are important to you from your previous location? So that's a nice one to explore with people. We then have the M for meaning, and that's about what meaningful activities you have in your life. And, I know from my clients coming to me, sometimes they'll say, I'm just so caught up in work and family life, and there are things that are important to me that I want to do that give me meaning, that add to the community, or that make a change in the world. How am I going to do that as well? So we might spend some time thinking about that, but it forms part of the bigger picture of this model of happiness and flourishing.
Yeah, and I think for the most part, the medics that we engage with have some sense of meaning in the work that they do.
Absolutely.
So it's important, again, to be able to have those conversations about what in their role brings them meaning, and for them to re-engage with that. Because I think with the pressures of the systems people work in, sometimes we can lose that sense of what's important and why we're doing what we're doing.
Yeah. We then have the A for achievements or accomplishments, and that's about acknowledging the things that we've done, that we've achieved, but also going for the things that we want to achieve. And they might just be small things. They might be small accomplishments along the way, small changes, but there is something empowering, something that gives us that wonderful sense of, it is a sense of achievement when we achieve, and we can't deny that that's a fabulous feeling, I don't think. So perhaps, and maybe more so for our goal-focused coaches, looking at what someone wants to move to, how they want to take their life forward, and making a plan to achieve that, but also to celebrate the achievements along the way.
Yeah, and I think that's an important element for some people, that they tend to skip across accomplishments and their achievements and just on to the next thing without pausing and really celebrating what they have managed to accomplish.
We then have the H at the end, which is for health. And I think this is so key and was definitely missing when Seligman first put this model together. It's all very well having positive emotions, engagement, relationships, meaning and accomplishments, but if we're not looking after our health, what's the point? And this, I think, resonates with so many of our doctors, not least because they come from that medical background where they are looking after people's health, but so many of our doctors now who are interested in lifestyle medicine and supporting lifestyle changes for people to be as healthy as they can be and to take some ownership of their health. And it's all of these things add into that sense of overall well-being and a sense of subjective well-being in the world that we live in. So I love this as a model, and it has so many ways of being used in the coaching room. And if you go back to episode 27, you can actually download a resource there that helps people look at each element of the PERMAH wheel and of the PERMAH model. It is a wheel, and you can look at it and assess and then think about how they want to move forward.
Very good. Excellent stuff. I think that's probably enough models for one day.
Yeah, I think so.
So a bit of a recap, bit of a signposting to episodes that we've done before that you might want to revisit if you want more information about each of those models. But I think we'll leave that there for today. Next time on the podcast, we will be exploring a character strength.
Oh, which one?
Hope. Which is an interesting concept to explore in coaching. So I look forward to having a deeper conversation about that next time.
Lovely. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back next time.
Bye for now.
This has been a Monkey Pants Productions podcast.